I'm sitting here listening to this album thinking to myself, is Linkin Park even a metal band at this point? Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I am going to be listening to the album 1,000 Suns by Linkin Park. Now, it has been a long time since I've done a Linkin Park album here on my channel. I just get so sidetracked with all of the recommendations that I get, but so far in their discography I've heard their first 3 studio albums, and a lot of you want me to check out their 4th, 1,000 Suns. This one the band released in 2010, and yeah, I'm excited to check it out and see what direction Linkin Park is going to take their sound in on this one. Okay, starting 1,000 Suns off is track 1 called The Requiem. I'm hearing this faint beeping in the background. Interesting vocals, a lot of distortion they're using.
He knew the world would not be the same.
Okay, and then it kind of ended how I thought it was going to. It just smoothly transitioned into the next track, but that was track 1, The Requiem. A really strong atmospheric tone to that one, something very cinematic about it, especially how it started, and those vocals just so distorted. They kind of had this robotic quality to them. But I'm going to continue on with track 2, which is called The Radiance.
2 people laughed. 2 people cried to impress him. Takes on its multi-armed form.
These noises in the background are so industrial sounding.
I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Okay, yeah, another seamless transition. But that was track 2, The Radiance, just a continuation, it sounded like, of the first song. I loved all of the heavy sounds going on in the background, though. You had that person speaking, but then behind all of that, there was kind of this deconstructed quality to it. But I'm just going to keep going with track 3, which is called Burning in the Skies. It sounds like some very slight harmonization going on here. It's very subtle though. I'm swimming in the smoke. I'm losing what I don't deserve. There's something really soft about this song. It's got such a beautiful melodicness to it. You were lost in the beating of the storm. I love how that guitar just ended and then the piano came in. That was track 3, Burning in the Skies. Definitely one of the more melodic, softer songs that I've heard from Linkin Park. That one just had that gorgeous smoothness to it. And lyrically, a really sad track as well. It sounded like he was talking about having ended relationships and burned bridges with people because he feels like he doesn't deserve having them in his life. Just a beautiful poignancy to that song, and I loved how smooth they kept it. Alright, moving on is track 4 called Empty Spaces. Alright, I'm going to pause it really quick. That was track 4, Empty Spaces, which was just a short little 18-second song. It started off so calm with the crickets chirping, and then all of a sudden it sounded like gunfire came in out of nowhere. But again, sort of like a transitional track between 2 main songs on this album. But I'm just going to continue on with track 5 called When They Come For Me. Really interesting beat with this one. I am not a pattern to be followed. The pill that I'm on is a tough one to swallow. Cause I am the opposite of whack, opposite of weak, opposite of slack, standing in the heat, trying to catch up, motherfucker. And all the people say, I'm loving the little electronic things they're doing, like that tone right before the chorus comes in. When the beat stops for a second, you can really hear it. Okay, now we have Chester coming in here. I love how that one ended just there. It sounded like the song Powered Down, but that was track 5, When They Come For Me. I loved how beat heavy that one was. The percussion just had such a unique tone to it, sort of this almost bouncy quality, kind of like a hollowness of sorts. And I kept expecting that song to kind of ramp up and then bring just this punch of energy, and it never really did that. Even toward the end, it sort of had this kind of loose, laid back style to its sound. But moving on is track 6 called Robot Boy. I love this piano at the start. There's a beautiful richness to its tone. I love how floaty this one is. It's got this very relaxing quality to it. That was track 6, Robot Boy. I loved what they were doing with the sound on that one, especially with the vocals and how sort of muffled and a little bit echoey they sounded. Toward the end there, I loved how they had Chester's voice really pushed in the background. He was bringing a little bit more intensity to his vocal delivery, but it was almost being drowned out by the softer, more melodic elements of that song and more of those electronic tones. All right, moving on is track 7 called Jornada del Muerto. Okay, it's almost like an extension of the ending of that last song. Now they're bringing in more energy here, kind of building it up. That was track 7, Jornada del Muerto. Again, a sort of interlude style track on this album. They're doing that a lot. These tracks are connected really seamlessly. It's like one will just kind of flow right into the next. But continuing on with track 8 is Waiting for the End. Again, I love the percussion. It's got some really interesting tones going on. Waiting for the end to come, my control. I love how he kind of drew out that word there, control. It had such a smoothness to it. Man, so much power to his vocal delivery just there. That was track 8, Waiting for the End. I loved Chester's vocals on that one. They were bringing a little bit more power to them. I've kind of missed that throughout this album so far. I've been wanting that punchiness, and that track had a little bit more of it. And again, something really sad about the lyrics of that one, how he was saying, all I want to do is trade this life for something new, and knowing that Chester does take his own life later on after they recorded this is just really dark in a way that you can kind of hear that coming through on the lyrics with these songs. But moving on to track 9 is Blackout. These vocals are so explosive, and then that piano is just adding this really contrasting melodic touch. Okay, a little breakdown going on here. Okay, and now we've got both of their voices coming together here at the end. That was track 9, Blackout. I was not expecting all of that punchiness. That one just had a lot of energy to it. And then it was almost like you sort of blacked out toward the end of that track, and it took on a completely different tone, this really smooth, almost angelic sound to it. But I'm going to continue on with track 10 called Wretches and Kings.
All the apparatus and you've got to make it stop. How low can you go? Chuck a lot of game, but yet you don't know. Everybody go.
I love the sort of glitchy sound this one has. It's like you've got all of these really smooth, sort of futuristic electronic beats, and then at times they're putting in these other sounds that have this really deconstructed industrial quality to their tone. Well, that was track 10, Wretches and Kings. I'm sitting here listening to this album thinking to myself, is Linkin Park even a metal band at this point? That one just fused so many different elements. Like, that was a full-on hip-hop song, and such a smoothness to that one. What Mike does with all of the electronics and everything, and how he sort of layers all of those elements up, is just done so well. All right, moving on is track 11 called Wisdom, Justice, and Love.
I come to this magnificent house of worship tonight, filling our nation's homes with orphans and widows.
All right, it sounds like a church sermon, but now it's kind of fading out and it's taking on this really crackly quality.
Do not be reconciled with wisdom, justice, and love. Do not be reconciled with wisdom, justice, and love.
All right, and then it just went right into the next song, but that was track 11, Wisdom, Justice, and Love. They were using those talking vocals again. It sounded like a church sermon to me, and it was like throughout the course of that track, the humanness of him sort of left, and it was like he became a robot with those vocal distortions they were using. Again, sort of a track that they used to kind of bridge Wretches and Kings with this next one, so I'm just going to continue on with track 12 called Iridescent.
Standing in the wake of devastation, you were there impossibly alone. Remember all the sadness and
I love their voices together. All of the harmonizing that they're doing on this album is just beautiful.
no one there to catch you in their arms. Let it go.
I love how he's saying let it go, like let go of all of that frustration and those feelings of not measuring up. And there is almost a release to the sound of this song. There's something almost cathartic about it. That was track 12, Iridescent. A very fitting title for that song. There was a lightness to it, not only with the lyrics, how he was saying like there is hope, just kind of let go of all of that pain that you're feeling, but with the tone too, a more stripped back quality, way more melodic for sure. And then with the chorus of people coming in toward the end there, again, it kind of brought about images of being in a church or like rising up to heaven. It had that quality to it. But moving on to track 13 is Fallout. All right, I'm going to pause it really quick. Again, that song just went smoothly right into the next one. But that was track 13, Fallout. Such a darkness to it, kind of this somber quality. My interpretation of it is on that last song, Iridescent, it's kind of like he found this glimmer of hope for a second. And then on Fallout, it's almost like he goes back into that old mindset of feeling like he doesn't deserve that lightness. But I'm going to continue on with track 14 called The Catalyst. Sort of a watery sounding distortion to the vocals on this one. This is just such an interesting track to listen to. There's so much punchiness, more of an aggression to the vocal delivery, but it's, again, sort of masked by all of this smooth, electronic, polished sound. Man, I never get tired of Chester's voice. Just his ability to fuse that harshness with the tenderness is incredible. That was track 14, The Catalyst. That one almost sounded like a culmination of everything on this album, sort of building up to that track. I'm actually sort of surprised that wasn't the closing track on this album because it had such a grandness to its tone, almost like a finale of sorts. And that track was a great balance between their two voices. I loved how Chester's was really bringing a lot of power to it, and yet it still had this really beautiful melodicness to it. But I'm curious to see how they're going to bring this album to a close. So moving on is the final song, which is track 15, The Messenger.
When you feel you're alone, those angel voices.
His voice just pierces you. There's so much power and yet so much clarity to it at the same time.
It keeps us calm, leaves us blind.
I love the inflection there on his voice when he said blind, how it kind of went up a little bit and then down. There's just such a fluidity to his vocal delivery. That was track 15, The Messenger. I mentioned that last song would have made a great closing track, and it would have, but I'm glad they included The Messenger on this album as well because that track was absolutely beautiful, way more on the acoustic side, more stripped back, and that really let Chester's voice shine on that one. You could really feel every word he was saying, and just a really beautiful way to bring this album to a close. Well, that concludes my reaction to 1,000 Suns, the fourth studio album from Linkin Park. This is yet another album in Linkin Park's discography that really proves that they are a band you cannot pin into one genre. They threw so many different elements on this thing. They definitely leaned a little bit more into the softer side of their sound on this record. Their first three albums brought more of that metal punchiness that I really do love from them, and I kind of wanted a little bit more from this album at times in terms of that punchiness. Track 3, Burning in the Skies, was definitely a favorite of mine. How they built that track up was just really well done. And track 9, Blackout, brought a lot of punchiness to it, probably the most hard-hitting song on this album. And I also really enjoyed track 14, The Catalyst. That one I thought just blended all of the elements that they used on this album together in a really beautiful song. Definitely let me know in the comments if you want me to do any more of Linkin Park's albums, and I know they either just released a new one or are set to release a new one very soon with a new lead vocalist, so I'd be very curious to give that one a listen. But yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.